Hello and welcome to the new plant series for 2021. My name is Jessica and I work at the Mineral Point Road location of K&A Greenhouse. The series itself has about 10 different recordings, so feel free to stop by our YouTube channel and check out whichever ones interest you. I have a couple different shrubs. We'll be doing evergreens, fruit, and trees. So if anything you see on there looks interesting, feel free to watch it. And if you have any questions, I'll give the contact information at the end of this. Today we're going through the new shrubs O through Z for 2021. Just a little note, just because they're new doesn't necessarily mean they're new on the market. Some of these shrubs are going to be new to us that we have not been able to get in previous years, but this year we'll be getting them in, so that's why they're new. And other ones will actually be new on the market this year that I was able to get on our orders. The first one I'll be talking about is Smokebush Winecraft Gold. There's the Smokebush Winecraft Black on the market for a few years now. This is just the yellow leafed version of it. You can see in the left-hand picture, it still gets those smoky plumes, the flowers on it. The yellow foliage color is best in full sun. It will handle partial shade, but you'll see more of the green color versus the yellow on the leaves. And in winter, it turns a real nice reddish orange color. So you get that into October here in Wisconsin. The Winecraft Gold is typically a 4 to 6 foot tall and 4 to 6 feet wide plant. They actually grow fairly quickly once they're established. So just make sure that you have enough room for it. They do handle pruning very well. So I knew someone who used to cut it down to about 4 to 6 inches above the soil every spring, and then it typically would grow back to the mature height once it was established. The other thing that I want to mention, this is also the improvement of the yellow smokebush called Golden Spirit that we've carried in the past. So this one's supposed to be just a touch hardier, and the leaves are just a little bit bigger than the Golden Spirit. We're supposed to be getting this one in right away when we open in April, and the hardiness zone on this one is a zone 5. Another smokebush we're getting in this year is called Velvetini. I believe it's coming from Proven Winners. It's been out on the market for 1 or 2 years, I believe, but I'm able to get this one in this year. Unfortunately, it's not arriving until June, but we'll have it most of the summer at that point. This one is the true dwarf of the royal purple that we carry. This one is 3 to 4 feet tall and 3 to 4 feet wide. Won't need as much pruning as the larger royal purple if you want to keep it smaller, and it does still get those purplish pink the smoke like plumes for flowers in summer. Full sun is best if you want to keep that purple foliage color. If you put it in part sun, it will get more of an olive green versus the purple that a lot of people are looking for. And this one also gets that orange red fall color on it, so you get that into October here in Wisconsin. A rounded growing habit, so you don't need to do a lot of pruning to make it look like this photo. And this one is set for hardiness zone of 4. We've carried snowberries and coral berries in the past. This one's just a new variety. Typically, snowberries are the ones that have the white berries, and the coral berries will have the pink berries. But this particular variety, called Scarlet Pearl, has pink berries on it in late summer and into fall. One of my coworkers took a different snowberry home, and she had the berries on it through at least Thanksgiving, if not later in the season. And my snowberries, the native type that I have, typically will have the berries on it until either the really hungry squirrels in winter take it off, or sometimes the birds will come and eat them too. The snowberries, this one will be 3 to 4 feet tall and 3 to 4 feet wide. The leaves almost have a bluish tint to them. They're not quite a true emerald green color like a lot of other shrubs are. And this one kind of has, you can almost see it, the arching habit. So it comes up and then arches down, especially when it has the heavier fruit on there, just to kind of weigh the branches down. This one is also great for erosion control because it spreads by the roots instead of just clumping. It has more of that spreading form that you see sometimes with ornamental grasses, or in another presentation that I gave, the night glow bush honeysuckle spreads the same way. Hardiness for this one is a zone 3. I know I used to see just the straight snowberries growing up and on the UW Stevens Point campus, so definitely hardy for this state. All right, so I have a few new spirea coming in this year, and I know sometimes people don't think that's necessary because there's so many spirea on the market, but this one is, we had a peppermint stick spirea last year, and this is basically kind of the same plant. It has 3 different flower colors on it, so you'll get white, a light pink, and a rose pink on the same shrub. So it's kind of neat that way. Never really know which one is going to be dominant, if you'll get more white or more of the pink colors, but it's definitely interesting in the landscape. Full sun to part sun is best. Spirea do handle full shade, but they just don't grow quite as fast. But of course, if you don't want it to grow fast, you can always put it in full shade, and then you don't have to worry about pruning it so much. Speaking of pruning, spirea do handle shearing very well, and it's actually beneficial if you go ahead and shear them, or at least deadhead the flowers, because you'll get a second flush of flowers later in the summer if you go ahead and do that. And I usually recommend every 3 or 4 seasons to just cut it to about 4 inches above the soil level. That tends to rejuvenate it a lot, and that way you don't have so much dead wood and the real thick stems. It seems to, like I said, rejuvenate the whole plant and make it a little bit more appealing. Spirea also are salt tolerant and pollution tolerant, so they're great in urban environments, small city lots. This one, 3 feet tall and 3 feet wide, and it also has a maroon fall color. This particular spirea is hardy to zone 4. A new white flowering spirea is called Yeti. I believe this might also be a proven winners type, but I could be wrong on that. This one is 2 to 3 feet tall and 2 to 3 feet wide. Same applies as the last one. It's salt and pollution tolerant. If you deadhead it or shear it after it's done flowering, you'll get a second flush in August. Typically, there aren't going to be quite as many flowers with that second flowering in August, but I mean, it's still nice to have 2 different flowering, especially with the August one, because not a lot of shrubs are flowering at that point in the season. This one will also get a real nice red maroon fall color, and is also hardy to zone 4. Spirea Spot On is coming to us from Bailey Nurseries. It's kind of an improvement of Little Princess. That one has been around for a very long time. This one has the same rosy pink buds, and then they open up to a light pink flower. This one is called Spot On because the tips of each branch kind of has a maroonish purple color, so it looks like little spots on the shrub itself. This one is 3 to 4 feet tall, and it's a little bit wider. You can tell from the photo, so it could be, if you keep it pruned, 3 by 3. If you just kind of let it grow and do its thing, it'll be 3 to 4 feet tall, but closer to about 5 feet in width. But again, you can keep it pruned and keep it a little bit smaller if that's something that you need to do. Full sun is best for this one, especially with those kind of purplish tips on each of the branches. And this one, for the fall color, is a mix of maroon and orange, so it's a little bit more interesting than just a straight red, but either way, it's nice in October here in Wisconsin. And this one actually is hardy all the way to zone 3. And one more spirea. This one is called Little Spark, and spirea are known for having a lot of the yellow leafed varieties on the market with this rosy pink flower. This one is actually being sent on the market just because some of the older varieties, like Gold Flame, they tend to start reverting back, and then you get those branches that have the green leaves on them instead of this nice yellow color. So this one does not revert back, and it stays with the yellow foliage all season long, especially if you put it in full sun. Same thing with this one. If you prune it back, you'll get a second flush of growth in August, or I'm sorry, second flush of flowers in August. And in the spring, when this one leaves out, you'll get a red and orange coloring first on the foliage, and then it changes to this yellow color here. This one is actually very short too. It's only 18 to 24 inches tall, so it's not anything that's going to take up a lot of room. It's probably only going to be about 2 feet at the most in width as well. So this is a nice one for the front of your border. Fall color on this one is the maroon red. That's pretty typical for spireas. And the little spark is hardy to zone 3. All right, so we have a new summer suite. I was not able to get in the hummingbird species until later in the summer, and this one is coming to us from our Canadian supplier. This was called Einstein, and you can see from the photo here, some of the flowers aren't just that straight spike that ruby spice, vanilla spice, and hummingbird are. The flowers on this one tend to be curved. Some of them are curled in, some of them are just wavy, and it's said to kind of look like Einstein's crazy hair, if you can think about a photo of Einstein. This one is a shorter one. It's 3 to 4 feet tall and 3 to 4 feet wide, so it'll still fit in a lot of the different smaller city landscapes. With summer suite, partial sun, so about 4 to 6 hours of sun each day is the best thing for them. They will tolerate full sun as long as they get enough water. Full shade is another option. You just have to be sure to give it a little bit more time to reach mature size, because they will grow slower in full shade location. And summer sweet is also nice because if you don't want something like a willow or a dogwood in your landscape, but you have an area that has standing water, summer sweet will grow in that area. They tolerate having wet feet. The fall color on this one is a nice golden yellow. And I should also mention the flowers on it are fragrant. So you can put them by a window, and then you'll get that scent in your house too if you open the window. But they do attract quite a bit of pollinators, so you'll get a lot of the bumblebees and the honeybees because they just love the flowers on these. So probably not a good idea to put it right by your front door, or I wouldn't plant this if you or someone in your household has an allergy to bee stings. And this one is, they're saying hardy to zone 4. Some are questioning that just because clethra sometimes is not super hardy if we get a really, like a couple of weeks of the polar vortex like we just had. So it could be 4B, 5A, we'll see, depending on what we come up with after it's been on the market for a couple of years. Korean spice viburnum is one of my favorites. The flowers open up right around Mother's Day every year, and they're a really nice, spicy, almost lilac fragrance to them. Spice Baby is a dwarf version, so it's 4 to 5 feet tall and 4 to 5 feet wide. It's a slow grower, so don't expect it to reach maturity in 2 or 3 years like some of the other shrubs could do. This one is full sun to full shade. Full sun is best if you want a lot of the flowers on it, and it's actually best for the fall color, which is kind of a purplish maroon color. If you put it in part sun or full shade, you won't get as many flowers, and it'll be a leggier plant with a lot less foliage on it. But like I said, it'll tolerate it. It'll still grow. It just won't be quite as pretty as it would be if it was planted in full sun. This shrub is a little bit more picky about soils. It'll grow in sandy soil or clay soil, does not like to have wet feet. So it's like the lilacs that I was talking about in another presentation. You can't put this in an area that has really wet soils that don't drain well. Don't put it in an area that will have standing water, even if it's just in the spring. The shrub will end up rotting, and then it won't produce any flowers or leaves after a while. The Spice Baby variety of the Korean spice viburnum is hardy to a zone 4. The Arrowwood viburnums are starting to come out with a lot of different varieties on the market here. This one is called Raspberry Tart. We're getting this from McKay Nurseries here in Wisconsin. It's a little bit shorter option than some of the other really tall. Some of the Arrowwood viburnums can be 8 to 10, sometimes 12 feet tall. This one is supposed to max out at 4 to 5 feet tall and probably about 5 feet wide. This one sometimes sends out runners and other times doesn't. I have the blueberry muffin Arrowwood viburnum, and I don't have any runners coming out, but other people have said that when they're really happy, they will send out runners, and then you kind of have them going all over the place in your beds. They get white flowers in spring, and then later in the summer, you can see the blueberries here. They only get the berries if they're pollinated by another Arrowwood viburnum. So, as I was saying, I have a blueberry muffin. So you could plant one blueberry muffin and one raspberry tart, and they would pollinate each other, and then you would get the berries. If you just plant 3 raspberry tart Arrowwood viburnum and nothing else, you won't get the berries. You'll still get the flowers. And then the fall color on this, you can see here, is a nice bright red color. It's a great alternative if you don't want to plant a burning bush. Those are getting kind of sketchy. Some of them are on the invasive plant list, other than the compact version that we sell. But this is a nice option. It's a nativar, so it's not the true native plant, but it's a variety of a native shrub here in the U.S. Full sun to full shade is okay for this plant. Again, kind of like with the Korean spice viburnum, if you put them in full shade, they'll be a little bit more leggy. The fall color on them will be more of a kind of a pinkish red or a light red color instead of the vibrant red that you would get if you had it in full sun. And the hardiness zone on the Arrowwood viburnum is a zone 4. And these are 2 other Arrowwood viburnums we're getting in from Bailey Nurseries. You can see the flowers on there. That would be the same kind of flower that the raspberry tart will be getting. This is also the same for All That Glitters and then All That Glows are the 2 other varieties. Bailey says that you have to have 1 All That Glitters to 1 All That Glows. I was told that they don't actually pollinate the other Arrowwood viburnum varieties, but I kind of find that hard to believe. But in theory, we will be getting both of them in. So if you plant one of each, you will get the blue clusters of berries later in the summer. The All That Glitters is a 4 to 5 foot tall and 4 to 5 foot wide. The All That Glows is supposed to be just a hair taller. It's a 5 to 6 foot and tall, and about the same in terms of width. So they'll still get the red fall color. Again, it's a full sun to full shade plant, so you can plant it pretty much anywhere as long as you have the room for it. And this one actually makes a nice hedge too. It's tall enough that it kind of blocks and gives you enough privacy, but it's not as huge as something like an arborvitae or a juniper if you prefer something like a deciduous plant. Okay, so the plant that no one knows how to say. Some people call it Weigela, some people call it Weigela, some people call it Weigela. We're getting a couple varieties of those. This one is called Electric Love, and it's the only kind on the market right now that has the dark purple leaf and then a red tubular flower. This one is also a dwarf, so it's only 1 to 2 feet tall and it's about 3 feet wide. So it's more of a mound than a globe shape. And it does the typical thing where it blooms in early summer and then you'll get a second flush in August typically. The hummingbirds love this flower because of the shape of it, and then because it's red, it'll attract them a lot more than a different, like a lighter pink tubular flower. And this one we'll have right away in the beginning of the season, but I can't get it in later in the summer. So if you're interested in this one, we'll have it in April and hopefully a little bit into May. And then we'll probably be sold out of it by July, I would think. The hardiness zone on this one is zone 4. So I was not able to get in the carnival variety, which is our variegated that we typically get in. So this year I have more colorful coming in. The buds on it are pink, and then it opens up to a tubular white flower. Same variegation with that kind of emerald green or mint green in the center, and then a creamy yellow to a white on the outside. This one's a little bit shorter too. It's a 3 to 4 foot tall, maybe a little bit wider where it gets up to 5 feet in width. Um, I should mention these do fairly well with pruning, and they actually look better if you do prune them once a year. When I was working at a landscape company, we used to prune these in July after they were done flowering, and then they still do flower again a second time, typically in August. The Weigela are tolerant to most soil types, so they handle sandy, loamy, or clay. Um, they don't typically like to have real wet feet if they're the shorter varieties. So something like this, again, don't put it in a spot that's going to be really wet, even if it's just in spring. That tends to hinder their growth quite a bit. Hardiness zone on this one is a zone 4. And pink poppet has been around for a very long time. I remember selling this one at my first job right out of college. So, it's been around for a couple of decades. We're getting this one in place of the rumba that I was not able to get in this year, which is very popular. Pink poppet is a 3x3 plant. Sometimes it'll reach 4 feet if you don't prune it at all. But like I said, if you prune these once a year, they tend to have more of a tidy habit. If you don't prune them, they kind of have these branches that go all over the place and it looks a little bit untidy. But if that's what you like, then don't bother pruning them. This one has the light pink tubular flower in June and then a second flush in August again. And this one is again tolerant of most soil types. It'll grow. I have I have a variety growing in very, very heavy clay soil with sandstone underneath it, and they're still doing fine. So they're pretty tough plants. Hardiness zone on this one is zone 3. And our last one that we're going over today is called Strobe. This is a new one coming to us. I'm pretty sure it's new either this year or last year on the market. But this one's another dwarf. It's 3 feet by 3 feet. We won't have this one until just after Mother's Day. So if you're interested in this one, give us a call, see when we get it in. I'm supposed to be arriving in the middle of May right now, but we'll see how our delivery schedule pans out once we get closer to that. This one is also another option for the rumba if you don't like the lighter pink of the pink poppet. This one has a little bit darker with kind of a rosy pink, almost red trumpet-shaped flower, which again will attract the hummingbirds just based on the flower color here. The other thing that's kind of funky about this plant is you can see the foliage here is a green color. As the summer heats up and it gets nice and hot and humid, the foliage on it is supposed to change from green and then it gets some bronze on it. And then as it progresses to fall, it'll change to an orange and a red in the fall. So I think that gives it a little bit of interest too in your gardens. It's never quite the same shrub as the season progresses. This one is hardy to zone 4. So that is all of our shrubs that we have. I didn't do anything on the Rose of Sharon in this part of the alphabet here because I have a separate presentation just for Rose of Sharon since we have so many coming in this year. If you saw anything in here that you have questions on, you can feel free to email us, knagreenhouse@gmail.com. Both of those phone numbers are up and working. We have people typically in the office Monday through Friday right now. And we are planning to open for the season on Friday, April 16th. And at that point, we'll be there 7 days a week to help you out, pick out anything that you're interested in. So like I said, if you have any questions, give us a call. You can check our website. We have plant lists up so you can see if there's anything on there that tickles your fancy. So until April 16th, keep thinking warm thoughts.